This image has been circulating widely taken during the coronation, claiming Princess and said Meghan is very jealous and a scaremonger. Now let's slow down. First of all, the source of this claim comes from a tabloid-style report referencing so-called forensic lip readers featured in a Channel 5 documentary. According to that program, a conversation between Prince Anne and Prince Edward, specifically Edward, Duke of Kent, not Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, was interpreted as including critical remarks about the Duchess of Sussex. Allegedly, and that word matters because here's the uncomfortable reality. Lip reading from a distance in a crowded ceremonial setting with camera angles shifting and hands partially covering mouths is not an exact science. Even highly skilled professionals admit interpretation is subjective. Context matters, audio matters, and neither was available. So before we jump into dramatic conclusions, we need to acknowledge something important. We do not actually know what was said. Now that being said, why did this story gain so much traction? Because the coronation itself was symbolically loaded. Prince Harry attended alone. He sat behind Princess Anne. He reportedly did not inform many family members in advance of his travel plans and left the UK shortly after the ceremony. That alone creates tension, and tension invites speculation. If there was a conversation between Anne and the Duke of Kent, it could just as easily have been about logistics, seating, timing, or even the weather. Both individuals are seasoned royal figures. Princess Anne, in particular, has decades of experience navigating public appearances. She is famously disciplined and discreet. Would someone of her stature openly criticize a family member in full view of cameras at one of the most historic ceremonies in modern monarchy? It seems unlikely, but the tabloids thrive on unlikely. The specific quotes attributed by lip readers, phrases like, "We mustn't let her get too comfy," or "We shall continue to ignore," sound almost scripted, dramatic, conveniently sharp. And that's precisely why many people remain skeptical. At the same time, there's another layer. The older generation of working royals, Princess and the Duke of Kent, have devoted their entire lives to service. Quiet service, no brand launches, no commercial deals, no televised memoirs. Their identity is institutional. So when Prince Harry and Meghan stepped away and then pursued commercial ventures, it inevitably created philosophical distance that doesn't require gossip. It's structural. There's a fundamental difference between those who serve the crown full-time and those who stepped away from that role. Now, let's talk about the privacy angle. Even if this conversation happened, and that remains uncertain, the idea that every facial expression, every half-whispered remark, every private exchange of state ceremony can be dissected by television programs is unsettling. Imagine not being able to lean towards someone and speak without it being replayed, analyzed, and turned into headlines worldwide. That is not privilege. That is surveillance theater. Some critics argue that if the comments were real, they explain Harry's facial expression during the ceremony. But facial expressions at a coronation are hearty, reliable indicators of hidden drama. Ceremonial events are rigid. Awkward seating arrangements are common. Emotional tension can come from many directions. Others claim Princess and worked Meghan out from the beginning. That is speculation layered on top of speculation. One thing is true, however. Princess Anne has always prioritized duty above personality. She does not publicly engage in narrative wars. She does not comment on family disputes. She performs her role and leaves. And the Duke of Kent. He has served quietly for decades without courting publicity. That generation of royals operates on a code of reserve. So while tabloids may suggest disdain or contempt, the more likely explanation is generational difference and institutional loyalty, not theatrical whisper campaigns. The real takeaway here is not whether and said something sharp. It's how quickly a moment becomes mythology, a still image, a subtitle, a lip-reader interpretation. Suddenly, it becomes a viral narrative. But without verified audio, without official confirmation, it remains at best an interpretation. And perhaps the more telling reflection is this. The monarchy remains under intense scrutiny from every angle. Every glance is decoded, every silence interpreted, every seat placement analyzed. That says more about modern media culture than it does about Princess, and in the end, we should be cautious about accepting sensational translations as fact, especially when they come from outlets that profit from drama. Because in royal history, the loudest stories are often the least reliable, and sometimes a whisper is just a whisper, not a headline.